We're live.
We're live. Good. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to see you here. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the class, Reconnection Gives Direction. Well, actually, not the class. I'm going to talk about the background. First of all, I know you don't all know me equally well. Some of you know me quite well. My own background is that I was down with stress. I didn't know it was stress when I was 21. I didn't know it. I just knew my body didn't function. I went to the doctor. This is many years ago. So at that time, they did not have a diagnosis. And then I had the let's make long story short. I came to an alternative practitioner after 1.5 years because I was very skeptical, so I didn't want to. So my mom told me, no, this is not scientifically proven. I don't want to go there. Finally, I went just to get her to be quiet. I did not think it was going to work at all. It worked, and I changed my food, and I changed my diet, I changed everything. But it also became very scary because this thing of losing control, when I was down with stress, I slept 12 hours a day. I was tired the rest. I struggled to go to the third floor. I had to have a break. My memory turned bad, and I really felt like I know how it feels to be really old. I tried to start playing handball again, and I came half up and down the court, and I collapsed. And all the tests the doctors made were like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. This sense of losing control over your life is really, really not nice. So I had a very deep longing to know what was governing my life. So I did this alternative practitioner, and then I could start exercising, and I could start regaining energy, and I could start feeling better. I still had this fear. When is something going to happen again? And of course, something happened again. Because I had not heard that he said you cannot drink alcohol. And there I was, and we had Christmas celebrations. And within 1 week, I drank like 4 shots of alcohol, which is not a lot for young people. But it was enough that I collapsed again. Long story short, that made me decide I want to have control over my own life. Then I started learning about it. I started in a women's group. I came to meditate. Then I got a deep spiritual experience which showed me how our life works and how I'm actually creating my own life. Not with my conscious self, but with to some degree with my conscious self, but also with my subconscious self. So tonight I'm going to go through with you a little bit about the background from this course. This course is developed based on the insight I had at that time. I was only 23, so I did not think I was wise to create a course. It took me about 21 years when I kept asking, please come and teach the spiritual aspect. Please come and teach how this works. And I couldn't get people to do it, although I'd heard something from them, but they were not aware. So based on all the knowledge I gathered over the years, it took me about 21 years to realize, okay, you're it. And I felt like, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm the one who's wanted this to happen. So of course it's on me. So in 2001, I sat down and I developed these methods. And then I started testing them out on people, and they worked. I tested them out on teaching other people to use them, and other people could use them as well too. It's not me as a person, it's a method. So today we have this course that's going to be the next 5 days, where you can go through your own personal life. And I also today have a teacher training or a coach training where you can learn how to coach other people and using the same methods. So that's a little bit about what I've developed. But first of all, let's go to the background. Let's go to the thinking behind it. When in 2014, I met a guy called Bruce Lipton, And I know some of you have heard me talking about Bruce Lipton before, because that gave me the more scientific background for why this works. So that's what I want to go through today. Bruce Lipton, how many people know him here? A few people have heard a little bit. Yeah. He has written a book called The Biology of Belief in English. In Danish, it's Intelligente Celler. He was, is a microbiologist. Well, he's retired now, but he still teaches. He was teaching medical students, and long time before the science of epigenetics was born, he actually got we can say what is the basics of it. But he was in front of his contemporary, the other people who were doing science, microbiology at the time. They could not see what he was doing. So he was kind of like a little outsider. Today, the science of epigenetics is well known. Have you heard the words epigenetics? You have heard about genetics. Genetics means that it's our genes, our DNA, that decides what happens with us. This is what most people believe. And it's true to some degree. But what determines what? Our DNA. I mean, we are born with the DNA, and one of the things Bruce Lipton said was that, for the DNA we are born with, there is 25,000 combinations of each of us. Now, which of these combinations that I'm living, what determines that? That was his big question. So he did an experiment. He took 3, they're called petri dishes. In them he put cloned stem cells. When you have cloned stem cells, it means the DNA is identical. It's the same DNA in every cell. And if some of you have difficulties understanding language, feel okay to ask. Okay? I can repeat. Also, it's streamed, so you have a possibility of going in and watching again. So he did these cloned stem cells in petri dishes. Then he said, let's try to give one kind of food to this one, another kind of food to this one, and a third kind of food to this one. And let's see what happens. And what happened was, in one of them you got bone cells. In another one you got muscle cells. And in a third one, developed fat cells. Now the DNA was the same. So that told him it's not the DNA that decides how our cells become. It's a nutrition they get. You can read his book. You can also go on the YouTube and you can listen. He has many, many YouTube videos, both about this and many other things. He's quite well known today. Now, the interesting thing is, what is giving nutrition to the cells? What is nourishing our cells? Where do our cells get their nourishment from? Yes.
From the food?
From the food, yeah, but more directly. The food doesn't go straight to the blood.
From the
yes,
from the blood. Yeah.
From the blood. Our blood is actually what nourishes. So that means that what we need to look at is our blood quality. And yes, then what affects our blood quality? Of course, our food. That's definitely one of the things that affect our blood quality. If we're living on alcohol, or we're living on meat, or we're living on grains, or vegetables or whatever, makes a different blood. Of course, it creates some differences. If we're getting adequate nutrition, if we get the minerals we need, if we get the vitamins we need, this all affects our blood. So, of course, the food and drink. What else affects our blood quality?
I see. Hormones?
Hormones, exactly. The hormones in our system. Now let's look at what affects our hormones.
Like food and stress.
What?
Food and stress.
Yes, the food, yeah. That goes also to hormones, but also stress, basically emotions, beliefs, and in other words, relationships. Relationships with self and others. How I relate to you affects my level of stress, affect my emotions, affect my belief. It all comes in and affects my hormones. And my hormones affect the blood quality. So yes, this affects the blood quality. What else affects our blood quality?
Respiration. Air.
Yes, our breathing. And is that interconnected? Of course it is. If I cannot be close to my emotions, what happens with my breathing?
Shallow.
I stop breathing, or at least I don't breathe very deep, which means I don't get enough oxygen to my cells. So, of course, it's all interrelated. But let's just keep it to breathing. Also exercise. Exercise and breathing affects the circulation in my body, if we just put this into one big pile. But also we can do other things, just like compresses or, there's different kind of body therapies we can do that all affects this here. Breathing, exercise, body therapy, you name it. There's many different things. So all these things affect our blood quality, And is there any of them that's more important than any of the other ones?
Breathing.
Not really. They are all equally important.
That's what I would say. All equally.
Yes, but if your relationship with self, if you don't love yourself, can you eat well? Can you maintain exercising? You usually find excuses or get in the way of yourself. So in that sense, you can say it is more important what your relationship to yourself is. But they are all equally important. I have developed the Wheel of Health, which has all these aspects in them. This course is not about the whole. We have another course that's Activate Your Self-Healing Power, where it's a 3-week course, where the first week is more focused on this part, the second week more on this part, and the third week more on this part. This course is the third week, where we are dealing with relationships with self and others. So just to understand how this course comes into a whole. Yeah. Now, during the course, we are going to explore our relationship with ourselves and the world. The exercises works like a mirror. Just like you look in a physical mirror, you see how things are. But here it's like they work as a mirror for what's going on inside of you. So that's what's going to happen in the first part of the course. You're going to see what's going on inside of you. Then you're going to work with your ability to focus, because what you focus on becomes real. You know, to make something happen, you need to focus on it. And if you focus on something, you kind of make it happen. It goes hand in hand. Then you also got to have to deal with those uncomfortable emotions. How many think it's nice to have uncomfortable emotions? You don't like it, huh? Well, it's just because they are there, but they need to be dealt with. They need to be understood. Once we have that and we can focus our intention, then we can get into what I have called the transformation procedure, which is a procedure I have developed so that you can work through and transform the things that's in your way, that doesn't work in your life, the programs that we have in our subconscious programming, that we can transfer them into creative energy. Then you're going to work with relationship to other people, and then you're going to work with personality aspects, and then you're finally going to work with direction when you go out of the course. So it's a quite intensive course. And people say, well, can we do this in 5 days? Yes, you actually can. It works. And whatever comes up is usually about what your goal with the course is. But before we go into that, let's look a little bit at this whole connection with hormones and emotions. Let's go a little bit closer into this part. When I met Bruce Lipton, well, when I was participating in a course with him, he shared that we have basically two different kind of emotions. And of course, all variations. One is love, which I actually tend to rather call trust. And another one is fear, which you also can say distrust. When you're in the love mode or the trust mode, you're also willing to be present with what is, because you feel safe and you feel that everything is there for a good reason, and you're being with you're feeling what's going on. It's not always pleasant, but you're present with it. And you're trusting it's all there for the good. When you're in the fear mode, it's like, oh. So he shared, how does this affect our hormones? And that's very interesting. Do you know what hormones gets activated when we're feeling love? Yes.
Oxytocin.
Serotonin and oxytocin and
Yes.
all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
The happy, that
Dopamine.
Let's start with the dopamine.
yeah, the dopamine.
The dopamine, that's also
Serotonin.
known as the feel-good hormone. Oxytocin. What does oxytocin do? How does that affect us? Oxytocin is what makes me open. Hey, let's have a relationship. Not necessarily a tight relationship, but I'm open. Oh, I'm willing to see who you are. I'm willing to show you me, and I'm willing to look at you, and I'm willing to connect. It makes me open to connection.
And serotonin.
Yeah. That was not one of those he mentioned, but I'm pretty sure that there's more than the ones he mentioned. What does serotonin do? What
It
do you know?
makes you just happy. And if you're, for example, Mani Tongvat taught us,
Uh-huh.
that if you're really down and you cannot find your way around it,
Mhm.
you keep smiling for 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, you just make like this. And then after 2 or 3 minutes, serotonin is produced and you feel much better.
Yes, and it works.
It works.
You can do
Definitely.
physically, you can smile.
Yeah.
And it will start working. Many years ago, I also did laughter therapy. It's actually fun, but you can start laughing and it starts moving and changing your whole hormones. You can do the same with smiling. And yeah, you can also even do it with breathing. You can breathe in the same pattern as certain emotions, and then these emotions will come into your body. So you can do many things. Anyway, oxytocin. Another one that comes is oh, come on. Well, there's growth hormone. Let me just get the growth hormone. And
Norepinephrine.
no, that goes over in the other. That goes over in the other one. My mind went blank on that one for a moment here. Vasopressin. Okay, oxytocin opens us up to connect. Vasopressin is the one that says, okay, now let's bond. Now let's have a relationship. Let's not just open up to connection, but let's solidify it. Let's have a relationship. This is also the one that creates jealousy, a holding on. I used to have a cat. Well, I used to have 2 cats, but one of them would be that if I'd been caressing the cat and I took my hand away, he'd do like this, you know. And you had to be really careful because otherwise you got like scratches. Basically, he did not want me to take my hand away. Hold on to me. He was trying to hold on to me. This is vasopressin. This is vasopressin that makes this, you have to stay with me, don't go away from me. That's this hormone that does that. So we kind of go from dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone, a kind of like centered hormone, to oxytocin is opening, vasopressin holding, growth hormone, again, we're growing, expanding. By the way, why do grown-up people need growth hormone?
Maybe to renew the cells.
Exactly, to renew the cells. We are renewing around 300 billion cells a day. That's a lot. And they need to have good quality. So we do need growth hormone. Not because we want to grow taller, but simply because we are renewing our body. So love in itself will help us to renew our body in a better way. And we don't need to have someone to love, but we can love whatever. But we can love ourselves. So we don't need to turn it somewhere else. A lot is about self-love. And if you love yourself, what do you think is going to happen from other people?
They also love you.
Somehow they say, oh, that's a very lovable person. And then you're attracted from other people. Similar, if you don't love yourself, you're also sending the vibration out, I'm not so lovable. And then that seems to be what's being mirrored back from the world. So it all starts here. I'm sorry, that's a little confronting sometimes, but that's how it is. Let's see. Let's go into the fear hormone here, or the fear. What kind of hormones do you think is released when we are having fear?
Cortisol.
Cortisol, exactly. What do we know about cortisol?
It's a stress hormone.
It's a stress hormone, yes. Cortisol is actually a hormone that's very important. Without cortisol, what happens?
I think there's a relationship between cortisol and sleep.
Yeah, and also between cortisol and living. If you stop producing cortisol, you die. It's quite important. Most of us don't know cortisol except from stress when we have too much of it, which is unpleasant. But also we know it from a medical product called cortisone, which they will give people in situations like when people are almost dying from cancer. They very often give people cortisone that can help get them back on track. They also give cortisone for many other diseases.
With high allergic shocks.
Also with high
People get
allergic
that.
shots, you sometimes get cortisone, yeah. So cortisone is kind of a healing agent. It's holding you together, so to speak. But holding you together can be too much. So in case of stress, it's not so good. The other one is, as I think somebody mentioned before, noradrenaline.
Yeah, and adrenaline also.
Adrenaline and noradrenaline. Noradrenaline or norepinephrine is like a precursor to adrenaline. And what does that do? Where does that put all our energy?
Fight or run?
What?
Fight or run?
Fight or run. So where do we need our energy? Out in the extremities. Which makes a lot of sense if we're standing in front of a tiger. Yeah, it does. But what happens if we're living in a state of fear or anxiety? And it's there all the time. What do you think it does to your digestion?
I read that only muscles can work in this and brain.
Yeah.
It's only through places where all the blood goes and so on. So
Yeah.
we cannot have nice skin or nice hair or good digestion because it's not really needed at that situation.
No, because if we're standing in front of a tiger, all we need is to be able to think and have our muscle work. And we don't need to digest food. On the contrary, it's well known from when soldiers come into war and there's actually an attack happening, it's well known that everything goes out because you're not meant to have food in your, it makes it more difficult to move. Not so pleasant, but that's what happens. So noradrenaline makes us unable to digest food. So if you're living in a constant state of anxiety or fear, in reality, you may lose appetite. That's what happened when I was in stress when I was young. I lost weight, even if I ate, but I didn't have much appetite either. And I could not digest my food. It went straight through me. I went down to 45 kilos. So I was more or less skin and bones. I was not doing well. Here, no ability to digest food went kind of undigested through me.
What about the opposite when binge eating, wanting to eat more?
Yeah, that sometimes happens over here too, just to kind of cover you up. Yeah, that can happen too, but it's more to not feel. But the natural feeling would be not to eat. And that means, if this is constant, you go into kind of anorexia. Anorexia is a balance to an unbalanced situation. And of course, it's not healthy to stay there. Of course not. So better, you need to deal with it somehow. But it's, and I've dealt with some anorectic people. When they find out of that, the anorexia is not the problem. This is my normal and healthy reaction to an unhealthy situation. That has been a big relief because, it's not wrong, my reaction, my anorexia. I'm not wrong because I'm reacting with that. That's a normal, healthy reaction to an unhealthy situation. But, of course, we need to deal with it because you end up dying if you don't eat. So it's not But it's important to understand that this is a way of creating balance. And modern people are not standing in front of tigers. They are having stress, they are having anxiety, they are having social worry, can I be together with other people? Do they like me? We have all these kind of things going on. What more happens on a hormonal level? There's something called cytokines and histamines. Did you ever hear about any of them?
Yes.
Did you hear about histamine or did you hear about antihistamine?
Yes.
I
And
heard
Both.
Antihistamine, most likely.
Well, histamines are released when you're having an allergic reaction.
Exactly. So histamines are released when you have an allergic reaction, and then you get antihistamines. Now, both cytokines and histamines, they are inflammatory agents. Now, in modern society, we have a lot of inflammatory diseases. In particular, all these autoimmune diseases. So they can be directly related to fear, anxiety-based life. So Bruce Lipton did something more here. He, again, took these two petri dishes with cloned stem cells. And then he said, let's feed into this petri dish all the love hormones. Let's feed into this one all the fear hormones. What do you think happened over here?
They grow.
These
Oh,
ones?
sorry. No, I mean the first one.
The first one, yes. Yeah, they grow.
Yeah.
They actually grow, they proliferate, they're happy, they are thriving, and they also multiply.
I have a question. So we can just live without all of these bad hormones, let's say?
No, we're not living without them, but we're not having excess of them. These ones, cytokines and histamines, is part of our immune system, and we'll always have them. It's more a question of if we have excess of them.
How much we have?
Yes, yes. We always have cortisol.
But these cells, they don't need it to grow.
Well, they are getting them.
It was experiments.
Yeah.
In laboratory.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, so in laboratories, they just got only good girls.
Yeah, apparently it worked. I don't think we as people can live without. I have had one client who was in a situation where he was almost dying. They couldn't get any diagnosis, and he was just getting weaker and weaker. They had tested him for all kinds of things, cancer, and they couldn't find out what was wrong. We changed the diet, and that kind of got the light back in his eyes. And finally, 3 months later, they found out, because his wife was insistent that they tested his hormonal levels. They found out he didn't have cortisol in his body. Or he didn't. His production was very low. Probably it had been gone totally for a while. So you cannot live without these, you have some of them. You also have your immune system. You get thing into your finger, or you get different things that's not food into your body. Of course, your body has to react to it.
So it's again about balance, actually.
It's all about balance, yes. I mean, it's more about if you're living a fear-based life, this starts growing. And what happens with the cells if this starts growing and taking over? What do you think happens over here?
Less mitosis, less cell division and reproduction.
The cells actually deteriorate. Some of them, they get shrink, they get smaller, and they shrink, and they're not happy. And what happens when our cells is shrinking and not happy? What do you think happened with our fear mode? Do you think we
Gets
get more or
bigger.
less fear?
Bigger, more
Yes,
fear.
we get more fear.
Mhm.
So here we get into a negative spiral,
Mhm.
and here we get into a positive spiral, because when our cells are happy, it kind of also, yeah, our life is good. More trust, more good feeling. So either way, we get into what you say, it perpetuates itself. So now that makes sense. We all want to be here. Why don't we just choose it? I mean, even without this whole scientific explanation, you already knew that it feels better to be here. So I want to give you Bruce Lipton's explanation on why we don't just choose it. Do you have any idea? Why don't we just choose this?
Because it's not realistic.
What?
It's not realistic to just choose it.
No, it's not realistic. And why is it not realistic? It's because we don't have one mind. We have two minds. If we had one mind, it would be easy. But we have two minds. We have the conscious mind, and we have the subconscious mind. Our conscious mind, when I'm saying I'm speaking from my conscious mind. This is me. This is I. I decide, that's my conscious mind. So, me, I, personality, decisions, or at least conscious decisions, and intentions, positive thinking, or we can say conscious thinking. Creativity, goal setting. I think you get the picture. All this is our conscious mind. And our conscious mind actually sits in our front brain. Here, in the front lobes. This is where it's sitting. This is from here, we can say, oh, I decide to do this, and then I do it. Now, my subconscious mind works on a very different way. And where does it sit in the body?
In the back.
In the back brain, or midbrain, I think it's called in English. Midbrain, even backbone. In Danish, we have a saying, it sits on my backbone, meaning that it's automatic. I don't know, do we have that in English?
I don't think so.
No, you haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that.
No, probably not. Do you have it in any of the other? Belgium? Japan? No?
You say you know it by heart?
You know it by
Mhm.
heart.
Yeah.
It's in my achterhoofd, the back of my head.
Yes,
For the back of my mind.
that's what you're saying in Belgium.
Yes.
Yeah. And in the back of your head, yeah. We're saying it sits on my backbone. Things that's on
We
automatic.
have that in German. Das habe ich im Hinterkopf.
Yeah,
Mm.
and you have it in German as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we usually, somehow our language sometimes reflects some of this understanding.
Yeah, I think there's also like, oh, in the back of my mind.
Mm.
There's
Yes,
this, yeah.
in the
Yes.
back of my mind, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Our subconscious mind works very differently. It works like a, old-time recorder or computer. It basically records and plays back experiences. So everything that happens is basically recorded and played back by our subconscious self. And it's not necessarily played back when you want it. It's played back sometimes in dreams, and it's played back sometimes, and you know, sometimes in dreams, and it can be in the most confusing matters for that matter too. Sometimes it comes up, oh, that reminds me about. You know, when something happens that kind of reminds you about, it's played back. So it usually works by association, that when it's played back, it's not on demand. You can
would you say something like a déjà vu is also, or is that a different experience?
No, that can very well be that your subconscious mind has become aware or have noticed something that brings to your mind. Yes. That can very well be sitting there and brings out at the, I know that.
Mhm.
What more is, it's things that's on autopilot. You know, it's really smart that I don't need to think about walking or biking or
Breathing.
driving
Or breathing?
or breathing, or a lot of these things we do every day. It's just on automatic. You know, when you're looking at a baby, I remember when Soria was starting to walk, our little baby here in the house, I remember in the beginning she took some steps and she didn't notice. And then it was very funny to notice that the one leg she became conscious about, since she was like, you could see it was going in her head about walking, and the other one was automatic. And then she was kind of getting totally conscious about it, and then it started being on automatic. But there was this process of actually learning to walk where you could see she was putting it together. And we've all done that. And it's amazing to witness in children when they grow. And when we grow, when we learn new skills. First, it's like when I'm in the kitchen training people in how to cut so that they don't get their fingers. It's like difficult. It takes concentration, it takes attention, and sometimes it's a little clumsy. But it basically takes it, your full presence is there. And then after a while, it can just, and it goes by automatic. He knows how to cut. And it's just, you say cut and you cut. And you don't put your fingers in front of the knife because you know how to not do that now. But until you know how to do it, you may cut your fingers a few times. The moments when you're unaware. So everything that goes on autopilot, that also means habits, instinct, also belong to here. So all this comes in as a part of our subconscious mind. What more? Now, how does our subconscious mind learn new knowledge? Well, we just said before, repetition. We do something many enough times, and then we learn it, okay? We do it many times consciously, and then it gets stored there. That's the one way it learns.
Maybe looking on other people, especially like close people.
Yes.
Secondhand.
Yes, secondhand. That's especially when you're children. The first, this works in delta and theta consciousness, or would you say delta and theta brainwaves? Theta brainwaves. And the first 5-6 years of our life, most of the time is passed in theta brainwaves. And theta brainwaves is basically like sleep or hypnosis, but you're downloading. You just download information. You don't have the ability to be so critical from there. You just take it in. So that's when you're looking, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And that's training here. This makes a lot of sense when you are in a very stable society. Like I met Grandma Agnes Baker Pilgrim, a very old Indian lady. Well, she's dead now, but she became 95. I met her when she was 89. And she told me about her tribe. Before the white people put them in the reservation, her tribe had lived 22,000 years in the same valley. Did it make sense that they spent the first 5-6 years of their life downloading the experiences from the tribe? Of course, it makes a lot of sense. Now, we are living in a society that's rapidly changing. It makes not always total sense. Many people in modern society is struggling. And what are they primarily struggling with? Like simple things like when I was a child and I grew up and the mailman was coming. What do you think? Everybody was like, the mailman is coming. Let's see what they're bringing. This was important. Even earlier, the mailman maybe not coming every day, but it was important to see that what the mailman is bringing. What about now? The mailman has been, well, we don't even get mail more than once a week here. But what do we get? We get emails, we get WhatsApp, Telegram, Messenger, you name it. We have all these things coming. And how many times a day? Ding, 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 ding. What happens if you go on with what you learned automatic, that this is important? What happens with you?
You get stressed out.
You get stressed out because you get interrupted all the time. Interruption.
That's why I put off my phone.
Yes. When I was a child was a nice interruption is now a disturbance and an annoyance. We are still having this automatic program that we have downloaded from previous generations that any news, we need to check them right away.
We don't.
This is just a program that's running in our subconscious mind that we need to change. Of course, we can practically make sure that our phone is not saying ding, 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 ding. That's a good start. But we also need to program ourselves to not necessarily look at it all the time.
For example, I made for myself, I look at it twice a day, 10 o'clock in the morning and 18 hours in the evening while I used to work. Now I skip the evening time. I just check once in the morning.
And this is for people to decide. I mean, you can decide a time. When do you check it? Because that makes more sense in the world we're living in today. Now, this is running people. So today it doesn't work. The belief, the habits that worked is not working anymore. And there's many other things. There's also, we can have learned belief, people who have been abused, learn beliefs, okay, be suspicious of men. Yeah, well, what happens? Can you have a relationship with a man? No. Or you find another one who abuses you, So there is patterns and there is beliefs and there is programs that is not helpful. Anyway, back to how we are learning here. We are learning by repetition, but we are also learning by aha, or for that matter, traumatic experiences. It doesn't have to, aha, that's usually like a positive experience. Aha. When we say a deep aha, it automatically goes deep in, because this whole subconscious brain is about survival. What did we say? Downloading. Oops, that's not spelled right. Anyway, downloading our own and others' and other people's programs. Huh? This is here we also have indoctrinations. How do we know if something is indoctrinated?
If it's very rigid and you're not allowed to look to the left or to the right or see another direction.
Yes, the key is you're not feeling comfortable looking at alternatives.
Yeah.
It's connected, you're connecting it with danger to look at alternatives.
Yeah.
Indoctrination is always connected with a sense of danger to look at something different.
A big part of the dogmatic religions are in that way.
Yes, and they are working on the indoctrination. If you are not going to be a Jehovah's Witness, and I hope I don't offend anybody here, then you will not get into heaven when doomsday is coming. You know, whatever. You know, we have all these type of things. You will go to hell and you will be forever deemed. You know, just as an example. We are today with this society where all kind of patterns are breaking up. We're also breaking up from dogmatic religious behavior. We are moving into something what we can call is more spiritual approach, or more, you know, our own authentic spiritual approach to life. Yeah. Anyway, most of what we have here is helpful. Our subconscious mind and our conscious mind, they have different capacities. Bruce Lipton taught me that our conscious mind can handle about 40 bits of information per second. How much do you think our subconscious mind can handle?
200.
4,000, 400,000.
Oh,
40 million bits per second.
Because I think we are 10% conscious and 90% subconscious.
Exactly.
something like that.
yeah.
Exactly. Oops. Exactly. We are about actually even less than 10%.
Yeah.
And more than 90%
Yeah.
of our actions and things happens from here.
Yeah.
Now, why am I saying this? Do you remember the initial question I said, why don't we all choose to live in love? It's not because we're stupid. It's not because we're dumb. It's simply because our subconscious mind is making sure we're surviving. And that sometimes means saying, no, don't go in this direction. Because before that turned out wrong. We have programs, and not even our own programs, also our parents and our grandparents' programs.
Yeah, our ancestors.
And now that life has changed so much, I can't live with my parents' programs. They're not helpful. Today's society is different. My mom is 92, and she's saying like, well, if I knew I would live this long, maybe I would have gotten into understanding the internet and this, but she said, we decided when we were in our 70s that, well, we're gonna die before, we don't need to know anything about this. And then she's still living, and she will live for a few years more, I'm pretty sure, based on how strong she is. My dad died when he was 92, and he actually did get a little bit into it in the end. Now, we can't live with their knowledge. We can see little children today who are grown up with parents who are using internet. It's just easy for them. They understand it. What takes us more time and more complicated for those of us who are older from a different generation, they got it in already when they were in the belly and being breastfed. They got this kind of understanding. So it's downloaded to them. And it's easy. Well, come on, my daughter said, well, it's easy. Okay. Yeah, maybe not so
It's
easy.
just that button.
It's just that button, exactly. That's this I can see young people, they have some things that just go easy. That doesn't go as easy for us because times has changed. So what we need in a changing society, what we need is we need to be able to change those programs that's not healthy. We need to be able to change them. This is what this course offers you. Now offers you a method to actually deal with these programs and change them. The method you will discover as we do the exercises, they are built up basically on repetition and aha. You will get ahas and you'll get to repeat. Okay, repeat this, keep repeating it, and then all of a sudden, aha. And by repeating, it becomes automatic. I once had somebody who came to repeat the course, and when he introduced himself to the group, which we'll do tomorrow, and he said, yeah, I feel a little bit embarrassed because I really haven't used the methods. I've had these tools, but I really haven't used them. 3 days later in the morning, he said, I'm realizing, actually, I have used them. I haven't been thinking about it. It was sitting on my backbone. It was just happening by automatic. So that's actually also what it does. How the exercises work is that the tools becomes automatic for you. If you do them well. So does that mean we never need to do the course again? That's for you to decide. I personally go through the course about once or twice a year, or when bigger changes, either when I want change to happen or when changes are happening and I need to deal with them. That's when I go through the course material for myself. And it works just as well for me as for everybody else. It's like, how often do we need to vacuum clean? When it gets dirty. So how often do we need to use the tools? Well, when our mind stands up, when we make a lot of changes, then some of the stuff we have is kind of not needed anymore. We need to let it go. That's when we need to do the tools. And if we're in periods of much changing, then we need to do them a little bit more often. It doesn't mean something is wrong with us. Just means this is, how it is. We need to adjust. Yeah. Maybe one little more detail tonight, and then I'll let you sleep. Here we're talking about emotions. Why do you think we have emotions? Where do they come from?
From our needs or situation.
Yes. We have needs. We have aspirations. No, this one doesn't like to do it anymore. Let's try this one. Aspirations, goals, visions, or whatever, dreams, whatever way you want it. We have some things we want or need in life. To get there, what's needed? To get what we need, to get what we want, what do we need to? We need to do something. We need to do some action. We need to take action. We can't just, hey, I like this, and then sit and wait for it to happen. Well, we can, but the chance it happens is not so big. Let's put it like that. We need to do something. Do something can be many things. It can be ask for it. Hey, I need a hug. You want to give it to me? Well, if I just need a hug and I don't say it, and I need it, do you think you're going to guess it? If I'm really lucky, yes. But for the most part, I need to express it. So expressing something is also an action. Asking for help is an action. Just sitting and waiting and hoping is non-action. So if my action is appropriate, what feeling do I get? How will I feel if I do the right action?
Positive feeling.
Yes, I will feel, and I want to call it not positive, but pleasant. I will feel happy, I will feel fulfilled, I will feel satisfied, or whatever you want to call it. But something that's pleasant, something that's nice. Now, if I don't do anything, or
I feel bad.
exactly, I will feel something unpleasant. If I don't do anything,
Procrastination, something like that.
yeah, or I wait with doing something, or I do something else. Hey, I like to have a hug, but I don't say it, and then I go and I do a lot of things, so I'm good. Does that help me? I want to feel that I'm, what do you say, have some worth, and I try to be really skilled in something. Do you think I'm going to feel self-worth? So I'm educating myself and becoming really skilled? No, I'm going to feel self-confidence. But self-confidence, self-worth is not the same thing.
I experienced something, I procrastinated something for a long time, like for 30 years.
Yes.
And when I did it finally, because somebody else asked me to do it, and I finally made the decision that I will do it, and it was 3 days until I really did it, took the action, and the energy that came back to me, that was incredible. So there's also a lot of energy frozen
Yes.
if we do not do our actions, if we do not.
If we do not do them, yes. And this unpleasant can be different. It can be sadness, depression, irritation, frustration, anger. Any other?
Unpleasant.
Yeah, any other unpleasant guilt?
Guilt.
Yeah, all of these belongs here. Now, why do I put this out here? Because really, it does not matter. If the emotions, if the feelings we're having is pleasant or unpleasant, it does not matter. What matters is that we recognize that they are a signal. They are a signal. Did we do the right action? Not the right for other people, the right for us. And if we have an unpleasant feeling, means that our action was not right. Means that we can go back and look, how can I change my action? Which other action is needed than the
There's
one I
something
tried?
we can redo,
Yes.
rethink.
And we can use our emotions. Many times we feel unpleasant emotions, and what do we try to do when we feel unpleasant emotions? Then we do an action to get rid of them. What do we do to get rid of feeling unpleasant emotions?
Like
Yeah, somebody is saying
unhealthy habits.
eating, distracting ourselves, helping others.
No, like unhealthy habits.
Oh, unhealthy habits.
Drinking alcohol and
Drinking.
binge watching.
Yes. We can have many different ways, many different patterns. We can get busy working. Work, do. So I don't need to feel. I mean, it doesn't, just any kind of things. And what happens when we are putting a lid on here and we are not feeling it, we are doing something instead of feeling it? What happens?
They become suppressed emotions.
Yes. And what happens when we have suppressed emotions?
That's unhealthy.
Yeah. Let's do a little experiment. Think about something you really want. And then let's go down this route and say, and tell yourself, I can have this. What does it do to you? How does it feel?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, yes. Feels pretty good. So you can even test it. You can test your action before you do it. Now, go down this route and say, I can't have it. Something that's really important, you really want. I can't have it.
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
It feels pretty bad right away, yeah. But also, in this bad feeling, there's also a tension somewhere in your body. So try to a moment, feel pretty bad. That's like a tension in your body, yeah?
I feel it in my like arms, kind of.
And you feel it in your arms, yeah, but it can be different. Some people will feel it in their stomach. It's different where it's felt for different people. But you feel it somewhere in your body. This somewhere in your body blocks the flow in your body. What happens when the flow is blocked in your body?
You get diseases.
You get diseases. It's only a question of time. Some of us get them like this. And some people it takes longer time. But we inevitably end up with some kind of disease. Well, in English, the word is beautiful. It's disease.
That's so beautiful about it.
Yes.
It's not easy, it's disease.
Yes. And it can end up being chronic patterns. And some diseases can be very serious, some is not so serious. But basically, not feeling. So the most important thing we have is actually feel. Whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, just feel it. And the moment you feel it, you move into the trust part. Feel it, embrace it, you can do something about it. I don't know about you. I used to be scared of feeling my tensions and negative things. And of course, it's not pleasant to feel. But I used to be really scared of it. I used to think I had a monster inside. And I'm not even surprised, I'm not even exaggerating. I actually felt I had a monster inside. I also now understand why, because when I was a child, my sister, she would be teasing me. And what happened when she was teasing me? I couldn't handle these feelings of being teased. And what do you think I did? She was my little sister. I beat her up. And I was told, this is not okay. So of course I started feeling I was a monster.
Oh.
I mean, we create, well, this is how we make beliefs about ourselves. This is how we make programs that runs in our mind. And we all have, maybe not that one, but something. So we all have different things. For me, it was a total relief when I realized that all this negative stuff was basically needs that was not expressed. It was not even my feelings. Yeah, they were suppressed, but my needs were also totally. And then I started recognizing, well, hey, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? And my whole life opened up. In a matter of 5 days, I looked 5 years younger. And it was like visible in the mirror, I can tell you. So it was quite powerful. So it was really, really big, like, aha. Does that mean I never suppress something? Of course not. But it's different than it used to be. So during these next days, you're going to discover some of your beliefs and programs that's not helping you, that gets in the way of you. In other words, it functions like glasses you see the world through, and that's not helpful. And you get to learn to take the glasses off, or maybe even put some other glasses on. What you get out of this course is not the course materials that gives it to you, it's the decisions you're making during the course that gives you your result. And I think that's enough for tonight. Any other questions or?
I have a question. What was the reason of your stress when you was 21?
I was in a relationship with a guy who, when I met him, was on alcohol as well as heavy drugs. And then he stopped taking the drugs. And I felt that that was because of our relationship. And I was in fear that if I would leave him, then he'd go back to the heavy drugs. So I felt I was responsible for him. And I knew this was not right for me to stay in, but I also couldn't figure out how to leave it. I couldn't say, okay, this is not right for me. And it was a really big learning. When I finally left him, you know what happened? He actually even stopped drinking. And all he had left was smoking weeds. But he actually got one step more out of it and stopped drinking. Well, he later stepped back into it again, but it definitely wasn't because I left him. So that was a real eye-opener. That was one of the life lessons I got. But that was the cause. And I didn't understand how that it affected my body and my system.
So when you left him, you got a stress?
No, I had the stress when I was in the relationship.
When you was in the relationship.
And she couldn't leave him.
When I couldn't leave him, that was when I was in distress. And I actually only first said yes to my mom's, prompting me to go to see the natural doctor after I left him. So I had to kind of get out of the relationship before I could say yes to moving in a different direction. But the life learning was really that, no, he did not go down the drain because I left him. He did not need me. He was quite okay without me.
It's also a bit of our thinking that we are the ones who have to save everybody.
Yes. And that's something, do you know the drama triangle? You all know the drama triangle? No? Somebody's shaking their head. Let's do that too, because that's actually important. The drama triangle starts with somebody, me or somebody else, being a victim. When I'm a victim, or somebody is a victim, what else? Then there's somebody to blame. There's somebody who's the persecutor. It may or may not be reality that this is the person who's done something, but you need to find somebody to blame. It is your fault that I'm feeling bad. That's being a victim. The other thing is that we need a rescuer. In this drama triangle, we have the victim. Can you come and rescue me? That's what the victim wants, huh? It's your fault. Can you rescue me? Can you rescue me? Because it's his fault. He is a bad guy, but you can help me, huh? And what does happen when we go into the rescue mode? That's where I was with this man. I was a rescuer. I was feeling like I'm the good person. I'm the rescuer. And I'm doing like this because you kind of get a halo. You kind of feel you're good. And who doesn't want to feel good? We all do. So yes, I went into the rescue mode and I saw him as a victim. But actually, the thing is, by going into being the rescuer in this situation, I actually ended up being a victim because I became sick. When we are in this triangle, we can keep playing in it, and we keep changing roles. Because then when we're a victim and we're blaming, it's his fault. What am I doing when I'm blaming somebody? And I'm being the persecutor. And you see, then I move into the persecutor. It's your fault. Then I'm being the persecutor all of a sudden. So I move myself from victim to persecutor.
And you make me a victim.
And I make you a victim. So we can play this game and we can be more and more entangled in it. And the energy level goes down. The dynamics in a group that play this game is not fun. Yeah, it goes down, down, down. And I think we all know it. Personally, I think that the world is on a level where we need to learn to step out of it. So let's look at what's the alternative. How can we step out of this?
By looking inwards.
Yes, and what do we need instead of victim? We need to see ourselves and other people as creators. You are creating your own life. I'm creating my own life.
Responsibility.
Yes, personal responsibility. If I'm miserable, yeah, I may not understand how I created, but my focus creates it. And if my focus, it may be my subconscious focus, which means it's not me. You know, everything I'm creating from here is not me. It's happening to me. That's the sense. This is not me, because I'm not conscious about that this is me. But in reality, it is me. And by owning it and moving it into it, I can recognize myself as the creator. So this is moving from victim to creator. Moving from rescuer, what do? I move into a coach role. When I become the coach, I'm not seeing you as a victim. I see you as a creator. And I may coach you to discover you're the creator. But I see you as the creator. I'm not trying to fix you. I'm not trying to take responsibility for you. I see you as creator of your own life and of your own happiness and unhappiness. That's the attitude of a coach. I'm not fixing you. I'm not rescuing you. I'm offering you a possibility of rescuing yourself, of taking the creator role. Instead of the persecutor, what role do I go in and take here?
The challenger.
The challenger, exactly. So I go in here and I become the challenger. So I may challenge you. I may challenge you. Did you think about this? This is not judging you, but it's challenging you. So then we can move into a positive triangle where we can, which is about empowerment. So it's the empowerment, and it's not even called a triangle, but it is a triangle. Empowerment dynamics. So then we can move into that. So that's also, I offer you during this course, if you haven't worked on this in your life, then I offer you to actually move out of the victim role. Well, actually, the course automatically moves you out of the victim role because you get to see yourself. This is one of the things that sometimes people tell me after the course. They say, you know, now I really need to take responsibility. That's kind of like, you know, sometimes I really wish I could go back and just being a victim and blame the world.
It's so much easier.
Sometimes I just wish that I hadn't, that I hadn't discovered I'm the creator. I mean, of course, it's challenging sometimes, but it's also what allows us to move life forwards. And social life becomes so much nicer when we actually can start seeing ourselves as creators and the other people as creators, and we don't step in and take responsibility from each other. Yeah.
Can you repeat the name of the triangle?
Yes, the drama triangle. The red one is the drama triangle. There is plenty of information to find on both these on the internet.
And currently our world is more a drama triangle than anything else. But
Yes.
here in this place, I don't experience it that way.
No,
This place has changed.
We don't have much drama.
Yeah.
At the moment.
This is incredible how you
At
did
the
that.
moment.
Oh, do you want some? I can start acting out.
Of course you can. No, but every now and then, I mean, of
It
course we
still happens.
yes, it sometimes happens, but we are quite good at moving it out of the drama triangle when it happens. I mean, of course we are humans. And sometimes we fall back into old patterns. So, anyway, this is something that's possible to work with. So, yes, how did we get there? Whatever the question was, I hope it was answered. Yeah. So, thank you for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.